Oh, is this pointing the right direction? It might be a bit too low. Hang on, how's that? I always get this wrong. G'day and welcome to this second video on our little budget 302 kind of budget. Change of direction. We've ended up using the heads I was going to use on a different engine. It's all good, doesn't even matter, but I found a slightly better set and they're going to go on the 351 under the bench. So you can see it behind me. We don't put the heads on in this chapter. I'm just filming this intro after I've done a day's work in here. So been getting heaps done. It was a long weekend. Got heaps done on the Fairlane and on the 302. I like to do one chapter at a time. The other thing I want to talk about is Milsom's auto paints. Just quickly, they are absolutely wonderful, and somebody's left a really nasty review. If you've used Milsom's, make sure you get on Google reviews and give them a nice review. This clown reckons he's been a customer for 20 years and didn't even know their names. I mean, some people just want to hate it, I guess, but I can't fathom the complaint. I think it's really bad, and it'd be good if you could get on there and give them some support, because they are wonderful people. It's a family business, and I've been there, going there probably 15 years, never had a bum steer. Just nothing but great friendly service, great prices, and really, really good advice, excellent advice, given that Terry's a lot more qualified than I as a painter. So, back to the 302. I don't know if there's much more I can tell you about it. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. Camshaft. I've only lubricated this first bit here. I prefer the grease over and above this stuff here. This is good for it's an engine assembly lube, but I like the sort of the moly grease. I think it's moly grease, I'm not sure what it was, and this didn't come with it. So I'm just going to run it round, and the reason, well, to start with, we're going to have a situation where this engine's going to sit for a while. Whoa, did I just kick him? This engine's going to be sitting a while before it started. But before I start it, or before I fit the lifters, I'll just get some down the hole and, you know, what do you call it? Get some down there, lift a hole so they're covered again. But I thought I had some of that grease and I haven't got it. Now another thing with this is that the rotation was checked, so it's got new cam bearings in it, and the cam rotation was checked before the first item was installed in the block. So you know, with your new bearings, you have to make sure they're all sized properly. So I gave Tony this camshaft to check in it before he gave the block back, and so I know it's all good. You can use a camshaft installation tool. I'm using a long 3/8 bolt, and because the tool that I normally use is my brother's, it just gives me a little bit more leverage to install the thing. Now the other thing is I haven't got the plug installed on the back, but yeah, we can see it's all rotating properly and all that sort of stuff. It's beautiful. So I'll just take that out. This is a clean bolt, so the thread in there is clean, so we can use Loctite on the cam belt. Not a bad idea to use an ARP one. They're like $40. I didn't get one for this because I forgot, but we'll get the thrust plate and we'll put that on. This is a new thrust plate for the camshaft. I'm just going to put a bit of slip around it, and it only goes on one way. They're offset, those holes. The other thing is that the bolts I'm using aren't the original ones, and I don't like doing that. I'm using Loctite on it, which is the red Loctite. So it's a sort of high strength stuff, and I'm going to torque them down. So there's no lock washer there. We have to keep some room behind the cam sprocket to make sure we don't run into any strife. And, you know, all the rest of it. So I've cleaned out the threads. Hang on, what am I doing? Got no feel. We've cleaned out the threads. So we're going to torque this down and make sure the cam still rotates and it's all good. And we're talking to between 9 and 12 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it to 12. Now the next stage is to dial the cam in. I'm not going to do it in this video. I've done it in 2 other videos on these engines, and there's literally a million of those videos around. It's basically making sure you've got true top dead center. So is that number 1 on that side? Yeah. And the camshaft is doing exactly what it says on the cam card that comes with it. So it's opening at the right time, closing at the right time, that sort of thing. So there's plenty of videos on that, but ordinarily you would put the timing gear on now. I've lubricated this between those 2 eccentrics. The other thing is there's a protrusion there which goes in here. It also serves to stop that pin coming out, as well as sort of indexing this so it can spin. Right, so if you have trouble getting that on, hit it with something soft. This is a bit of brass. And just a tap either side so it can kind of go on, locate itself. The other thing you need to make sure of is it's absolutely true. I've told this tale before. Galaxy had a spacer behind there and it didn't need it. And the cam sprocket was sitting right out. And I don't know how it didn't break or cause damage. So I'm electing to run 1 degree advance, even though there's probably advanced ground into it, right? But that's why you need to degree it to make sure you're putting it in the best possible position. So that goes to 45 foot-pound, I think, same as the rods. So I'm going to nip that up, and then we'll take a look at the oil pump. Just make sure that's true, going all the way down. The Galaxy's one sat out like that, and that was quite bad. This one has got the brass. Can we see in there? You can probably see down there. If you look behind it, there's a little, you can probably just see it there. There's a little brass ring that came with it. Now this is true roller. No, it's not. This is a Rollmaster 9 keyway timing chain. I think they're the best. Only because I've heard that from people who matter, so to speak. I've always used them because I don't like stretch. I have used other brand double O rollers, and I've taken engines apart that have had them in there all over the place, just like a standard one. Don't forget your slinger. A lot of people don't put those in, probably because they have trouble getting them on. Damn. Oh, here we go. There we go. And with that torqued up, that should still spin freely. Ford always fit a stud in the bottom of the where the fuel pump mounts. For the engine stand I use an electric pump so I can isolate the fuel if I want to, and I'm just on a mission now of just blocking up any holes which aren't necessary. With this thing, I've had this since the 80s when I had a Fairmont GXL, a 351 GXL. This has just got those horrible yellow plated bolts. What's going to happen is I'm putting this here for when I paint the block. If the bloody thing goes in, hang on, that could be the wrong thread, is it? Just a second. Good idea to have a tap and die set handy. Where is it? There. You know, 3/16 quarter, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16 and half in quarter and fine, and you can pretty much do any car. Any old car. New stuff's all metric anyway, but it's much easier getting metric sorts of tools, I guess. Yeah, this was just a bit dirty. Don't do it like this. I'm a bit of a butcher actually, but I'm a sensitive butcher. Alright, let's see if that's going to work. That's a bit better, isn't it? I don't put that too proud. I could probably just put tape there actually. But anyway, that's just there for now. And this is when, if you're going to leave it out of the bag, and I'm throwing this bag out because it's covered in oil, this is where you tape up oil filter things and all that sort of stuff when it's out of the bag, but I'll take it out when the heads go on. An ARP oil pump drive, very important, change these every time. because they tend to round off. That's the distributor side, where that collar is. That's the oil pump side. The standard ones are a lot smaller in diameter. These are quite a bit bigger and very cheap. There is a book of words here, and checking for clearance and this sort of stuff. Clearance between the counterweight and the bearing cap, but also end play as well. You need a bit of end play. You don't want it too tight in there. The other thing is, you don't want, I mean, you can have a bit more end play if you like, because all that does is really stop the shaft coming out of the oil pump when you pull the dizzy up. The shaft is tapered, so it's easy to get the dizzy on, and it's blunt at the bottom. Pretty important, you just check the fit. That's an ARP, or sorry, a milling pump, and a new pickup, so I didn't have one. And in the dizzy side as well. Now this distributor I bought for the car, and I didn't check the description very well. That's for an earlier engine. This block, I should have put this block in the Fairlane, I was stupid I didn't. This block is either 1981 or 82, I looked at the numbers. So anything post XC is going to have a slightly smaller hole drilled in the block to support that bottom of the distributor. The early ones, what are the early ones? 13 millimeters. The later ones are 12.5 or something. There's only a few thousandths in it, but it's enough to make a difference. Now these have to be kind of right. I'm just going to pop that on there, put a socket over. Just make sure the socket you've got will fit over the thing. It actually goes right over that whole shaft. But anyway, it goes over there. And get a spiffy looking metalworking hammer or whatever else is handy to you. And just give it a tap or so down, just to make sure you're in the right ballpark. And that looks pretty well spot on to me. Awesome. That's actually tapered at both ends. So I guess it's the factory that just stuck a sort of a snap ring thing over one end of it, but these are different. Now, it also says up with an arrow facing up, so we're going to stick it down because the engine's upside down. Normally when I do one of these engines, this one is kind of like a re-ringer, so I haven't changed the rod bolts. Whenever you change rod bolts, you're resizing rods, doing all that sort of stuff. And you know, you start with new bore, resize rods, new ARP bolts, rod bolts, you know, all this sort of stuff, but I haven't in this car. I did pick up another set of heads that was stuffed, and you can see there that intake valve was really sunk in, and where they get around that is they just cut the seat for a 4V valve. So that's a 205 intake, 2.05 inch, 4V's a 219, but that wouldn't necessarily help performance a whole lot, I wouldn't think, because the Achilles heel in a Cleveland's getting rid of exhaust, not so much letting fuel in. Anyway, we'll put this in and have a look. Actually, the engine's not on the best angle for you to see. There's our drive again. Arrow, we're going to face down because the engine's upside down. And it's going to sit in that little hole for the dizzy. And that's the clearance I'm talking about between the first counterweight and the bearing cap. Now, I want to put the oil pump in. This has had a lot of lubricant on, and I want the gasket dry. This is the thinner I used to clean the gun. So any old thinner from cleaning the gun I always pour in this jar. Call it gun wash if you like. And brilliant for cleaning up this sort of thing. I might need a bit more thinners, but you know what I mean. I don't want oil there. Okay, let's go get the pump and have a look. That's what your standard cam thrust plate bolt looks like. It's 1/4 inch coarse, same length. It's got blue paint. I don't know why it shouldn't, but I've only got one. Right, where's the pump? Milling standard volume, as we said. We've got a gasket that goes with it. It's got a funny looking hook there, right? So that's going to go, if we go like that, facing back. Just like that. And it's dry, it's clean. That's clean-ish. I always depth check the holes. There we go, that's going in. Just do it with a small screwdriver so you know what you're up against. And the other one. These do look a bit long, but they're not. There it is there. I just had to move you just so I can have a better crack at these. The other thing is I set the strainer up on in a vise, so I need to just double check that it's level. Now these are torqued down. I'm just going to nip it for now and just have a bit of a look at how everything fits. I think that's alright. I'm just having a bit of trouble getting onto that one in there properly. Perfect. 25 to 35 foot-pounds. I've just done it 35. Let's have a look at this. I'm going to try and get that level. And it doesn't look level at the moment. I'm just using a large shifter. About there. Right, these pans, I don't really normally keep the old ones because they're always dragged around the ground. This is an aftermarket with the baffle in it, and there are always people disagree. It's hitting, I think. There are always people disagree. In my experience, 302s don't have a baffle, 351s do. But there's always exceptions, and people have seen it with, you know, the engines they're doing. I've pulled a lot of 302s apart and found the same thing. It's like the torque ring. There's normally a torque ring on the drive plate for automatic transmission cars. And that's the same sort of thing. I'm going to try and peer in here and see if I can find why that's fouling. It's obviously fouling on that. Hang on a sec. Well, that's the cover from Byron, which I blasted. There's getting a bit of surface rust on it now, but it doesn't matter. And that will just fit in. And I'm using the rest of those horrible pink plated things I got from the other plater I used to use. I was never satisfied with the work. You know, you go and you take all these bolts and things in, and you look at it and you think, well, you know, when we get them back, there's going to be a nice surprise. And you get them back and you just look at it and go, oh. And that's sort of how it was with him. I just didn't like his work. The guy that I see now, Terry's in Bronya. His work is just lovely. So all I'm going to do with these, because I don't care about these bolts, that's a bit stiff that one, is just bolt that up to the front. No gasket, bolt the sump down, no gasket, just in 4 spots. And then I can paint it up, just mask that off and we're good. I wasn't watching. Okay. We're not tightening them. Now, some lube will fall in there, so I'll just go like that, and we're good. I'll turn it over, and actually I might just leave it like that. Right, just stuck a nice clean new bag on. I'm just going to put this bit of tape down here so I know which way the bag was facing up, and that way when I go to put it back on, I'm not going to get all the oil that drops out all over the pan. Right, 302. So what we're going to do with this is give it a paint job. We put these on with no gaskets. We're just going to all around. Instead of using masking, I'm just going to use this stuffed pump, which I hadn't got around to throwing out yet. It was just sitting on the floor. Once I've painted this thing, this can go in the bin. But as far as it serving as a bit of masking, I think it's a good idea. if I can find the right size bolts, which doesn't look like I can. Damn, hang on now. What about this one? I've just got to hold it there with two. Ah, can tell. There we go. They go something like that, don't they? All right. And then afterwards, we can just chuck these bolts in a thing of thinners and. Damn. I'll put it there. Yeah, just put them in a thing of thinners and then they'll just, all the paint will come off because these have already been plated, but they're out of my random 5/16 box. So they're only there as masking. And the other thing I'll do is I'll put that fuel pump blank on and I'll put the fuel pump that leaked on the Fairlane because that's going in the rubbish as well. But there was something wrong. I mean, I could have even damaged it too. There was something wrong with it, and it feels a bit stiff, but that's cool. So I'll take that off, and we'll mask up that because we're not going to put the seal on just yet, and we should be good. Masking up's always a pain in the neck. It doesn't have to be precise at all. But engine presentation is always quite important to me. The rest of this is just using old thinner that I've used to clean the gun, the paint gun, and wiping off all that assembly lube and oil. And we're just using an air dry enamel on this. That does tend to stick to everything, but not to oil. It'll come straight off if you do that. I'll change rags. This is just an old cleaning rag as well. This is just I'm just going to use a small touch-up gun. Just to keep overspray down. This is just air dry enamel. If it starts to stink too much, I'll stick them up. Actually, I want to just shroud that off a bit. I'm just going to stick a mask on as well. Damn. That's probably about it. Looks rather lovely, doesn't it? Bit of rubbish in the paint. That's only because it's in a garage. It's an engine, so no big deal. So we can put Welshies in and throw that in the bin. Throw that in the bin. More Welshies. This is from Byron. Wonderful Byron, a good friend, very supportive, and he's going through hell at the moment, the poor bugger. And he's so generous, he's selfless, that guy. So he sent that out, and I haven't painted the top yet, but I'll put the heads on there and paint it then. I like doing it like this because I like the exposed fasteners, but not just that, it's just easy. Do you know what I mean? So you can flick around, put the heads on, paint the top bit, mask it off with a manifold and so forth, and you can start looking really, really good. Hopefully you can see this. I'm still having trouble with that thing hitting. There's two ways to go around it. I think at the back, I think it's hitting the top of the, oh, that light's going down. I think it's hitting on top of the pickup. Non-genuine pickup, non-genuine pan. Just give me a second to take it off and see if I can clearance it. Not sure if this skirt here is longer on the non-genuine pickup or the Sump, which is aftermarket as well, is shallow in that area. But I've got it now. I ended up hammering and dolling it. There's a couple of small cuts. Now we've got to keep something in mind when we do this. There's one there and there's one there. It's almost like having a glass in a vessel of water, and as you pull the glass up to the surface, it all stays filled up until you break that seal where the rim is. And the same thing with the oil level. That now has to be there, otherwise it's going to draw air. Yeah, so it will be, there's not a problem. I've now got the pan sitting down, and you can see where it was fouling under here, there and there, and that's why I've got it a bit pointy. We need to peer in here and see it. We've got about 3/8 clearance. I might have to, you can put glue tape and things in, but with the gasket there, I reckon that might be alright. I might go and get my little bore scope and have a look. Right, I think it was Nick Sagliano in the United States sent me this by Amazon. I use it all the time, but I keep forgetting how to use it. There we go. And it will, there we go. It's got a little light on the end of it, and it's also got a camera on the side. So you can get a good view of what's going on inside an engine. And there is the thing there. So if I put a little dog leg in it like that, you can see there the clearance. You can record on this. Is quite good. I'd like to measure it actually. Can you see that? So I've got good airspace between the bottom rim and the what do you call it? And the bottom of the pan. Now once we get, I'm going to put the side camera on now. I need to get down there. And that's got plenty of space there. That doesn't look too bad. There's the bottom of the pan in the top left hand corner, and the skirt of the pickup is at the front there. So I kind of like the look of that. Right, well, let's have a look at these heads. I've only got one here, the other one looks exactly the same. Imagine that. So these were done up by Tony at Speedworks. He's the guy I always use. Now these were done for the 351 sedan. No, the 351 is going in the XA sedan. And we've since changed their mind. I gave him another set of heads. I might have mentioned it. Look like they've never been machined. There's no cracks, nothing. So they're perfect. And we're going to, for the XA, we're going to do, you know, pocket porting, match porting. It's going to be quite a powerful beast. It's actually quite a shame we haven't put these in the Fairlane. but I think the wagon's a better choice. It's got a lot of oily stuff and I've got to get off. These have been around forever, these heads. I've had them 18 months, I think. They've been sitting in the study. And they've got considerably less meat than the ones that we're putting, or that Tony's got now. So they're better for a 351. They won't over compress it. But these are going to be perfect. I mean, even on the XD needs stem seals and all sorts of stuff. But these cores were very good, excellent. But the one that he's got now, or the two that he's got now, I should say, are even better. So these are standard small port Cleveland valves, 205 intakes. The other one will have 219s, which are they call them the 4V ones for the big port heads, which by today's standards don't breathe that much better. Certainly, you know, for most street applications, you would just use the smaller ports because you get more airspeed and this sort of stuff. Larger intake valves really won't do much for performance. Their Achilles heel on a Cleveland is the exhaust side. So, yeah, that 351 will have bigger ports, but he might even clean up the exhaust ports just to help the gases get out. And it'll have headers on it as well. So, you know, it doesn't matter. Anyway, look, I'm going to leave the video there because they'll probably come up to about half an hour or so of footage, or 40 minutes, whatever. Take good care of yourselves, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you soon.